Alright, so I wanted to talk about my experiences with the Adventist church and what it's like, how at least in my day and in my church in LA, how you become a member and, the baptism process and everything. Now, I think you have to be about 12 years old to say that you want to get baptized and be able to make that decision for yourself and follow through. And I think that's the age that they recommend is the earliest age. You can't get baptized as a baby. Now, people can dedicate their babies, but like, I've never seen a baby get baptized. I don't know if I've seen someone get baptized that was younger than 12, and if they were, maybe they were like just barely near that age or something, or maybe turning 12 within that year or something. I don't really know. I don't know if it's 12 or 13. I want to say it was like 12 though. But they don't have child baptisms, but you can get baptized at a young age. So the process of doing that is you take a baptismal class, and once you're done with the class, I don't remember if you have to sign. I think you get like a certificate or something that you sign, like the back of the little workbook or something. You sign it, and then you say, I want to get baptized, and then you choose like the date, and usually it occurs during a church service, either towards the middle of the service, before the sermon, after the sermon, or towards the end of the service, right before like the closing prayer, closing song. Some people have baptisms maybe on the Sabbath, on a Friday or Saturday. They want natural water. They want like a beach or lake or some other spot or some other church location. Or I don't know if I've ever gone to a baptism like during the week. I don't know if I've been to one during the week. I've heard of people doing them after church, like at the beach, like the local beach or whatever beach they choose or whatever. But I don't know if I've heard about people doing them. Sorry, these roads are bumpy. I don't know if I've heard about people doing them just like not. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I just don't know if I've heard of that, of people doing them outside of what I've mentioned. And once you get baptized, I don't know if you have to get baptized to become a member. You don't have to get baptized into that specific church. Like that, like say if I went to, I don't know, Main Street Adventist Church. I don't know if that even exists, but say if there's a church in LA called Main Street Adventist Church because it's on Main Street or whatever, and to become a member, I don't think you have to be baptized specifically by that pastor into that church. But to say to be a member of a church, I think you have to get nominated in, or you have to tell somebody, I want to be a member, and then people say yes, and then I second that, and then you're a member. And then there was this kind of like unofficial, like, you're kind of considered a member if you've been there twice. Well, not a member, but you're kind of considered a part of the group if you've been there twice. Like, as in nobody's, I don't know, like, it's kind of like the church that I grew up in, that was kind of like a friendly thing. If you've been there twice, you're part of the church family. It doesn't really mean you're a voting member or that you're a member that's able to make decisions, but you're considered a church member at that point, or a church participant. I don't know to what extent are you allowed to do this or that. I really don't know, but you usually have some form of standing. If you've been there twice versus never, and you also have some form of standing if you've yeah, I think those are the two things. You have to have either been there twice or something along those lines. Like you've been there twice. Or you are a member, like you've been voted in, and say you came from another church or moved from another country and you're like, I really want to be a member of this church, which means you can take more active roles. Now sorry for coughing into the mic. Now, to volunteer at a church, I think you don't really have to be a member, but I do think there are certain roles, deacon roles. There are certain roles, I don't really know specifically which ones make it so that you can be a member. I mean, you have to be a member to do them or not. And I think when you get baptized, you become a member. Like, you get voted in. I've never seen anybody get, like, outvoted or, like, kicked out or whatever. I think people who would maybe get kicked out, I've never really seen that, but someone who might potentially get kicked out, I usually think those people would be more likely to leave on their own free will before getting kicked fully out. So I don't really know, but that's kind of my best guess. But yeah, I am kind of a little on the curious end about it. Sorry for the rustling noises. I'm Sabbath is ending. Let me see the official time. It's 7:23 right now. When's sundown? Official sundown. Today is Saturday. Official sundown is 8:08 p.m. Oh, it's getting earlier and earlier. Yesterday was 8:09. But yeah, 8:08 p.m. tonight. So, I kind of mistimed some things. So, yeah, I kind of wanted to be home. I wanted to record until sundown and go home and eat. But I feel like if I wait that long, it's going to be really late. Because I have food. I went and picked up Chipotle just now. So I have some food to eat. But part of me is kind of interested in getting back a little bit to some of the Adventist traditions in a newer way. I'm going to tell you some of the stuff that you learn, but it's basically stuff I've talked about before about like what Adventists do, what Adventists believe. I might actually be wrong in some of the stuff I'm about to say. So don't quote me on this, but I'm going to say what I think. I mean, I don't think I've looked at the Adventist book, the Adventist baptismal books in such a long time. Dude, I'm chewing into the mic, sorry. I'm testing out a new edible. It's not gonna kick in for a while. But I went to the dispensary to get some CBD drinks. This it's like a smaller dispensary that has like more CBD products than the typical dispensary. The typical ones they're kind of phasing out CBD products. This one you can get full CBD drinks and everything. Some stuff has a little THC or it has CBD and THC, but it's not like overly priced. So I dropped in there. Usually 2 sodas are like $12 for 2 or something like that. And then one, I don't know how much the edibles were exactly, but I paid like maybe $65 total because they round up, and I got a lighter for $1. Because I want to try a pre-roll, but this isn't the podcast that I usually am blazing up on, but that's probably gonna happen. But yeah, so I think one of the early things that I kind of noticed, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is like when I first, I'm not 100% sure the difference between Adventist beliefs and what you learn as someone who's getting baptized into the church. But I don't know, the topic of tithing has been very interesting to me. And I don't necessarily tithe to a church anymore. I was never super faithful with it, but I'm feeling more called towards charity, just from what I've been learning with Judaism and Islam, that it is like a main focus in those religions, and in Christianity it's not that it's not a main focus. It's just, for myself personally, I guess it doesn't really matter what I think the church does with the money, but I get a little skeptical and feel like, is it really, are they really like handling this, properly, like, are they really, are they handling this properly? Are they handling the money properly? Where does it go? I don't think we get like a printout or whatever, but I know there are budgets. I don't think I've ever been part of a church that was like super bad with money or whatever. I don't really know. I wouldn't know, but not to my knowledge. But anyways, so when I was young, they asked, I think it was after someone's baptism. I can't remember who got baptized, but there was someone when I went to church at what was called the Westchester Church. It was walking distance from Westchester Park, but I don't remember the actual location. Like, I think the main street is like Manchester, but I don't remember the cross street. It's not there anymore. I think they turned it into like apartments, but it was a little bitty church, and I grew up going there. I went there since I was young, and then we merged with another church, I think in Hawthorne or something. I don't know. I was kind of too young to remember. We started meeting at the Adventist school gym. Some people built the stage and like carpeted the stage, and they got some carpets that matched, and they made like some aisles with the carpets, and we would use the school gym as the sanctuary on Saturdays, and Fridays at school we would have chapel anyways. And so the older kids or some adults would move out the stage and everything so that we could have chapel on Friday. So I think on Thursdays somebody would move out the stage pieces. It was like 3 or 4 pieces with some steps that went up, and it was like a carpet in front and maybe like 3 aisles, like I think maybe a carpet on the outer aisles, and maybe 1 or 2 middle aisles of carpets. They were like teal colored carpets. One carpet along the back, and then there were chairs in rows, like between, like those chairs that they're kind of like fake leather chairs, fake leather padded chairs. They're not like nicely padded, but no, I'm wrong. We first had these other chairs. They were cushioned. They were like cushioned, almost matched the carpets. They were kind of a little wide of chairs, and we would just sit in them, and they kind of snapped together. And I think there were like, let's say 8 in a row. I don't remember honestly. And they were kind of angled so the outer rows could kind of see at an angle. It was all facing out front, obviously. And then I think someone laid that out for Friday and Thursday nights, because Fridays we'd have chapel for school, and then and chapel was like the first thing we did Fridays. So I think we started school at like 8:30 or something like that, and then chapel was at like 9. I don't know how long it was. Let's call it 1 or 2 hours. I have no idea. But we'd have to wear specific clothes. When I first started that school, we didn't have uniforms. But then once we got uniforms, we had a Friday chapel uniform where the girls had to wear it was like plaid. It was like a skirt if you were 8th grade and up, and a jumper if you were K through 7, I think it was. I can't remember the grades exactly. Or maybe it was like 6th grade and up for the skirt. I can't remember. And you could wear, I think you had to wear a white shirt with it, or maybe you could wear any color of your polo or Peter Pan style. They were just like button-ups or polos. There were specific colors. We had yellow, navy blue, white, and I think dark green were the colors we could wear. And then we had sweaters that were dark blue or khaki pants or navy blue pants. I think with the sweaters you could only wear a dark blue sweater or a hoodie or like a pullover sweatshirt, and it had to be plain, or like a zip up hoodie. I don't really remember, but you could get the stuff. Back in the day we would shop at like Kmart or whatever. It would just have to be the right color, the right style. But I think the chapel dress uniforms, we kind of specifically bought them at this place called like Dennis. It was called like Dennis Uniforms or something, and they were like way overly priced, but it had the specific uniforms for the school. And I think we started wearing uniforms when I was in 5th or 6th grade. I don't remember what year we changed into that school, into using the school as a church, but we used to meet at Westchester Church sometime after 3rd or 4th grade, maybe around 5th or 6th grade or so. We started meeting, maybe around 4th grade. I don't remember what grade, honestly. We started meeting at the gym for church. And I remember somebody got baptized, but I feel like their baptism was at the Westchester Church. I just can't recall if we were still attending the Westchester Church on a regular basis, or if this was maybe a baptism that happened at the church, but we had been having church at the gym. But this church was still there for a long time. It just wasn't in use. And it was there for a long time. Because I think when my group of friends and me got baptized there, I don't think we were going to church there. Or there was a time after where we stopped going to church there. I don't remember the timeline exactly, but I was probably 12 or so. And somebody had gotten baptized, I think, and then they asked, is there anyone who wants to get baptized? They would always kind of ask that after a baptism ceremony. Is there anyone else who wants to, who feels called to, like, want to get baptized sometime soon, or however they worded it. And I stood up. I think my brother, our close friend, there were like a group of us. I want to say there were like 10 or 12 of us that all stood up to get baptized. And a lot of them were friends that I grew up with, brothers and sisters. We didn't really call each other brothers and sisters, but they were actually brothers and sisters that were friends of me and my brother growing up in church together. These people were siblings of each other. I remember there were two brothers, there were two sisters. Um, um, I think the pastor's two daughters. He has three daughters, but I think there were two of them. And I feel like there were a couple other kids, but I just don't specifically remember who they were. But my timeline's a little rocky because I'm thinking like the people that I'm thinking. There's like two or three other kids that I think got baptized with us, but the people that I'm kind of specifically thinking about, I don't think they went to that church with us. I think we met them through the school. I don't know. I really don't know. But I remember all of us standing up. And so then we started baptism classes together. And that's not common. You usually don't see like a group of a bunch of friends stand up to get baptized. I think we were the biggest group ever to all get baptized at once. And a lot of us stayed in the church for a really long time, pretty much up to college, past college, up to maybe grad school. Then people kind of split and moved and stuff. But our group stood up. We all kind of went, and eventually, I think it was, let's call it Saturdays after church, we'd have a baptism class every week for, I don't know how many weeks. It was a chapter. We'd do like a chapter a week or something. And so the pastor would read it to us. He would read us we would read through it just like you would any kind of lesson. And you'd fill in the blanks for stuff. And like, it was stuff we kind of already knew, but it was mostly like the main stuff that you learn. The main stuff that you're going to be following. So, and this is where I'm blanking is exactly what that information is. Because I don't know if they just taught Adventist traditions. Like, the reason why I'm saying this is because I don't really know if it was all purely biblical stuff or like traditions. But I know we learned about the Sabbath. I know we learned, I think, somewhat about Ellen G. White and her message about health. I don't remember if we learned about, we probably learned about avoiding certain types of what were considered unclean meats and things, like not eating pork, shellfish, shrimp, that kind of stuff. There are other things to add to that list, but that's kind of like the main stuff you'd probably find on a basic menu that you would come across. There's other stuff, though, that people aren't really expected to eat. I don't know if we learned about smoking or drinking. I don't know what we learned about beats and music and clubs and bars and stuff like that. Like, I really don't know what we learned. I think we had to wait a while for the books to come in or something. But I remember enjoying it. I always liked learning at church. That was kind of my favorite thing about church was the learning part. And the discussions and things. I kind of liked that. Just kind of like the mental, intellectual part. I mean, the spirituality too, but that was kind of more of a personal thing. It had nothing to really do. Like, maybe it had something to do with when you're in a gathering and like there's a lot of people, like maybe everyone's like singing passionately or having like some passionate prayer group or something. Like, there would be times like that, but other than that, which wasn't all the time, like there was always like singing and praying and stuff, but it was sometimes just like routine, if that makes sense. But sometimes you really kind of like get in the spirit of it and like really feel it would feel different and like good and nice and better than other times. And then other times it would just feel like, we're just going through the motions of church just because that's what we do today. But yeah, I think we learned about the dietary laws And there were always Bible passages to refer to, but it was like a few verses here and there. I think the Sabbath. We learned about Ellen G. White just basically. I remember I got from my youth pastor. He gave for our baptism. We got The Desire of Ages, a paperback by Ellen G. White. Steps to Christ, a small hardback by Ellen G. White, and the CD. I got the Sonic Flood CD, and I think a picture frame. I think that's what I got as gifts, baptism gifts from the church. We each kind of got pretty much the same thing, and like maybe a generic card or something. But I remember, liking having those things. I remember cherishing them for a while, and, I think I still have the paperback Desire of Ages. I don't know where I put the Steps to Christ. It's all online now anyway, so you don't really need the hard cover versions. But, those are the things I can kind of remember that we probably would have learned. I don't know what, like, if we learned, like, a whole bunch of stuff. I think we learned about, like, what baptism was, why we don't do child baptisms or baby baptisms or sprinkling, and how come you immerse fully versus, like, sprinkling or, like, a little dip or something. Like, there's a difference between, like, the age when you can get baptized as an Adventist and the form of baptism, unless there's a reason why you can't get in the water and get kind of dunked. And I think we do it once. I don't think we do the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. I think it's like one dunking, and there's like I don't know. We kind of all, I remember saying with some friends, like, how you felt different when you came up out of the water. Like, felt like it wasn't a normal, like, like, we're people who were raised near beaches. We go to beaches all the time. So we're in the water, we're near pools, we go in swimming pools and stuff. We know kind of what it's like to be in the water on a regular basis. And so you know what it's like when you first get in the water and you get out and you kind of take that first breath out of the water. So the reason why I'm saying this is because everyone I know was, like, familiar with that experience. And yeah, we're all familiar with it. But yeah, like, that experience was a little bit different. Yeah, kind of crazy. I gotta take a picture or something. This looks weird. The marine layer rolling in right now looks really crazy. Yeah, so I think that's kind of the first thing that I can kind of remember. It's kind of like, I guess that's the part that kind of stuck out, is like what it felt like coming up out of the water. It was kind of a unique experience that I don't think I'd ever had before in a pool or the ocean or anything like that. But we all wanted to get baptized at that church. And, it had a significant meaning for us because we all grew up in that church, the actual building. And yeah, it was just interesting. I remember the little booklets that we learned from and the group that we learned with, and I don't know what I thought was going to happen. I thought maybe it's going to be easier. I'm not going to sin, or whatever. I don't know what I thought, honestly, but I can't remember now what I thought, like when I'm thinking of it, I'm like, what did I think, after afterwards, what did I think? What kind of came to mind? And I don't really know. I can't really remember too much about that experience. But, when I've been learning about what Amish people do and stuff, I'm like, yeah, the Adventist church is way different. And it's different from other Christian churches, too. Not all Christian churches do baby baptisms and stuff, but I mean, a lot of Christian churches do that. And, or christening or whatever you call it. And a lot of churches do that. And, the Adventist church doesn't do that. You have to be old enough to make your own decision. That 12-year-old accountability age, I don't know if that comes from Jewish culture or what, but that's kind of the age where you're considered that you should be old enough to kind of be accountable for your own decision making at that point, just about that you kind of know right from wrong, and you're not just like, I mean, you're still young, but it's like you can kind of make your own decisions kind of by that point. And people don't really, I don't think there was like pressure after that point. I don't really remember there being any like anything like that. I only remember my dad making a comment once, because me and maybe my brother or somebody were watching like some kind of movies. I don't know. It probably had like violence or cursing or something in it. And he was like, yeah, is that really how baptized people should behave or something? But my dad's kind of that way, and he kind of isn't very careful with his words, and he's pretty judgmental and pretty, I'd say he's kind of a shaming type of person. He kind of likes to prove people wrong, or like show people how wrong they are about stuff. That's kind of just his personality and kind of how he socializes with people. But that's the only time I ever remember anybody being like, saying anything about, oh, you're baptized, should you or shouldn't you do this kind of thing. And then I remember way later, I think one of my friends, we were walking at a church, and one of my friends was kind of, how everybody kind of has these friends that are kind of like a strange kind of person. It was a strange kind of friend, a friend of a friend, who I kind of kept in touch with, who was in the military, and I used to like send him mail and stuff, and kind of pen pal kind of thing. He did, I don't know if he wrote back, maybe he did, but I stayed friendly with him. I met him right before he went to boot camp, and got his contact info, and kind of stayed in touch over the years. But he would visit every now and then and let me know when he was in town. But then I realized he only really wanted to like hit on girls and stuff, because I was kind of like social with people, and I kind of realized, oh, whenever he wants to meet up and we invite people, and then he starts trying to like hook up with different friends. But these are like really churchy people. I'm not saying really churchy people don't hook up, but these people were not really into just hookup culture too much, so he was kind of barking up a lot of the wrong trees, rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. He was a little vulgar, and I don't know, his personality didn't fit in church-wise, but I still hung out with him. I didn't really care. Like, he wasn't, I don't know, it got to a point where I couldn't hang out with him anymore, in all honesty, just because of how he was. But unfortunately, after his time served in the military, he completely changed, unfortunately. But, yeah, I remember him making a comment, because he said something to me, and I'm not really a very sarcastic person, but I kind of responded with sarcasm. I don't remember what he said, but I remember him saying something to me, and myself responding like something like, oh yes, like absolutely I do that, or whatever. And it was like, it wasn't anything that weird. Maybe I was embarrassed. I don't remember what the question was, but I just know that I just know that he was asking me something as we walked out of the church building. So we had been in church, and then we came out, and I said something sarcastic, and I could see how it came across as rude, kind of like an obnoxious kind of way of responding. I wish I remembered what he said, but I don't remember why I responded out of sarcasm. I'm really not a very sarcastic person. I used to be a little bit sarcastic here and there, but I'm not really anymore, like, at all. And nowadays with sarcasm, I do kind of think, in a way, it's sort of passive aggressive. It is a little, I kind of get it. But he did make a comment like, oh, I thought Christians aren't supposed to be sarcastic or something like that. And I never heard that, because I was like, oh, I didn't know that. But he came from like a Catholic background, and I was kind of like, really? Like, I didn't know that. And, you know, it kind of stuck with me, because I still remember him saying that. But those are the only 2 times I ever remember anybody really challenging me on on being a Christian or whatever. Like, only like those, maybe there were more, but those are the only 2 that stuck. But yeah, I remember when he mentioned that, and he was like, yeah, like, Christians aren't supposed to be sarcastic or whatever. And I think maybe he said it because maybe I'd hurt his feelings, or maybe I was being obnoxious, or I was usually pretty nice to everybody, including him. But I think maybe, you know, sarcasm is, I don't do I need even, I don't know. I think sarcasm is if I'm being real, I do find it to be kind of like a passive aggressive form of like being social. Now, sometimes people use it as humor, and like, yeah, maybe it's like, okay, it's possible to be like overly sensitive, but I feel like sarcasm is not sensitive. It's not sensitive, it's not authentic. It's there to kind of push people away, kind of like give them a little jab, like a little social jab that kind of like, okay, maybe it causes a small amount of emotional pain. You know, I don't think people go home and like in tears over some sarcastic remark. But it is kind of one of those things where I do find myself questioning, okay, does this person really think that way? You know, like if I'm like, okay, say for example, if I'm, okay, something that commonly happens. This is a common city situation. Say you don't know where you're going exactly, and you come across a one-way street, right? And you turn down the wrong street, so now you're kind of driving the opposite direction. Say there's no traffic or anything, right? And you're in a car full of your friends, and say I'm driving, and then I have like 2 friends in the back seat, a friend in the passenger seat, and I accidentally make a wrong turn in downtown LA and end up going, traffic coming toward me on a one-way street. But it's not even dangerous. There's not any real traffic. I just made the wrong turn, and I have to like quickly like flip around or like pull into a driveway or something, because I'm going the wrong way on a one-way street. And then say I pull over, get to where we're going, park, and I make a comment like, oh, you guys must really think I'm stupid. I feel dumb. You guys must really think I'm stupid. And then if somebody says like, oh yeah, we think you're stupid, something like that would probably hurt my feelings, even though I'm like, oh, they're, even if they're like, oh, just kidding, I don't think you're stupid, just kidding, it's just a joke, But then you kind of have to wonder, like, why would somebody say that? Why would somebody call their friend stupid? Either they're upset that you made that mistake, or they've got some other personal thing going on. I mean, realistically, why are people sarcastic, right? When you think about it, I don't think it's a very good trait. I don't think it's funny. Some sarcasm, I think there are ways where sarcasm can be a little funny, and it's not like necessarily like a little jab at somebody's emotions. But I do think most of the times people have to say, oh, I'm just kidding, or I'm just being sarcastic. But they do already say something mean and rude, maybe it's a socially acceptable way to be mean or rude, because you can't really just be mean or rude, or else you'd be like losing friends and stuff in relationships pretty often if you were just practicing being mean to people all the time. So sarcasm kind of gives you an opportunity to like express yourself, you know, be a little mean if you feel like you want to take little jabs at people in a socially acceptable way. And so, or to cause like embarrassment or shame and things like that, you know, because when people say it like in a group of others at somebody's expense, and usually when you think of sarcastic comments, a person never has to make a sarcastic comment. It's never a necessity, you know, it's just supposed to make people feel a certain way, but usually it's there to make people feel negative. Now, I think sometimes people use sarcasm to make other people feel like, oh, I want them to laugh or see if they kind of chuckle or whatever, or they feel like it's a form of humor. But I can get why somebody would say, if you're being sarcastic, that's not like a Christian-like thing. And I don't think I understood that at the time when this friend said that, but later on in life I was like, I think he's right, you know, I think he's right. I shouldn't be sarcastic. And I met people who weren't sarcastic, and I was like, I really like the way that feels, that they're not like sarcastic. And I was like, I don't really want to be sarcastic with people anymore. I don't know if I'm sarcastic anymore. I'm silly. I mean, I'll crack jokes all over the place and just say stupid stuff, but I really, really try not to say stuff at people's expense. I don't know if I do. I might, but I really try not to actually do that, because I don't like it, and I would probably feel bad about it, you know. But I used to be super insensitive though, like as a teenager, super insecure, just like insensitive all the time, but always joking, and like I would always say stuff like, oh, I hate this person, or oh, you're stupid, or whatever. Like I would say stuff just like that and just be like, oh, just kidding. And you know, I didn't have very good boundaries. When people would ask me to like stop saying certain stuff, it's kind of funny, dude. There's this house I'm passing that almost every time, this is probably, I don't know how many times I've passed their house where the person was either in the driveway, coming out of their house, pulling out of the driveway, pulling into their driveway. And this is like completely different days, different times of day. These people are always like pulling in and out of their driveway, it looks like. But yeah, I totally was like, you know, what's going on, you know, like, you know, with how that friend mentioned that with the sarcasm. But I don't think Adventism really has a lot of social rules about, like, especially about gossip and things like that. I don't think Adventism really, you know, talks about that kind of stuff. It's more like, what are you doing and how does it look? But I don't really know. It's not, I don't know. There is that kind of like Christian thing with stuff where it's like, you kind of gotta wonder, like, you know, what's going on, you know? You know, I don't know. I don't really see anything. Adventism and baptism it's a different experience than it is from a lot of churches, but it's not too different. Just maybe the membership part, and the age, and the dunking, and maybe some of the lessons, but I don't really remember the lessons off the top of my head. But alright, we made it almost to the time. It's 8:04 p.m. right now. So I'm gonna go in, eat my food, and hope it didn't get cold. I brought a bag with me, a hot cold bag, so I hope the food isn't cold. I've been recording for like 45 minutes almost, so hopefully this was interesting. I don't know what you guys think about the topic of sarcasm. I don't know how I got off onto that tangent, but you guys know how I am. Sometimes I hit a topic and I'm like, I actually really want to talk about this. But yeah, I gotta try and post some stuff tonight. I've been sitting on some things, so. All right, guys, that's it for now. Thanks for listening.